Yes.
I am so excited to welcome back again my good friend Heidi Gray McGill. And just so you guys know, she's been dealing with the cough lately, so we're going to give her some grace.
Thank you.
Heidi, I am so happy to have you back on again. You're like one of my favorite people.
Jennifer, it is always a joy. And if your listeners could have heard us before this call, they would have said, you should have just recorded the whole thing.
I know we could talk the whole hour before we even start. It's like, oh yeah, we got to do the podcast. We do that every time. Every
Exactly.
time. So, Heidi, welcome back. And I know we're going to talk today about your newest release, Keeper of My Heart, which is now available in ebook, paperback, Kindle Unlimited. And
Yes.
this is book six of your how do I,
Shumard Oak
Shumard
Bend. It's
Oak
the
Bend
name of a tree, a
series.
Shumard Oak.
Okay, well, that's what we're doing today. We're talking about this book. Tell us something about that, or just drop in and say whatever you want to say. The floor is yours.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. So it is very exciting to be here. One of the things Jennifer and I do before we even start is we always catch up, and it is that we have a long-term friendship, and which
Mhm.
is not an always a normal thing for authors. Jennifer and I have never met in person, but we have
Oh, we
connected.
did.
Oh, we did. That's
We
right. We
did at
met at
The
Blue
Blue
Ridge.
Ridge Writers Conference a few years
That's right.
ago.
On the side note, are you going this year?
I haven't decided yet.
Oh, I hope you can go. So
Okay,
I
we'll talk
am I
about that
am
before I get
excited. I
off.
will be there and lots to learn there. So you are right. Thank you for that clarification because I do remember that now. So as an author, I have been writing historical fiction and historical romance since 2020. So if you already know who I am under author Heidi Gray McGill, you will recognize my Discerning God's Best series. If you do not know who I am, you can pick up any one of my books at any point in time and read it. It is a standalone story that you can read on your own, but I will say you will benefit from reading them from the beginning because I build on my characters and you watch them grow through the story. And that is so fun. And that is where book six, Keeper of My Heart, comes in. So Cecelia, who in the prequel was the baby, Thomas's little sister, she is now all grown up. And oh, Jennifer, she's a
Oh,
handful.
I read the back cover copy. I'm excited to read this book because as we're
Oh,
recording this, just so you all know, it's still another month before this book comes out. So I haven't been
right.
able to read it yet, but I read the back cover copy and I'm like, whoa, she is quite the handful.
She is a handful from the little tiny docile child to who she is today. She is just a strong-willed woman who truly believes that there is no one that is going to just make her heart flutter. And part of that is because she excels in everything. She is not conceited, she is confident. And she understands the dangers of the wild and Missouri in this time frame. She knows that one error, one slip up, one not paying attention can take a life.
Mm.
And it's not worth it to her. And so she does not care for tomfoolery. And she does her best and gives her best in everything that she does. Well, if you have read any of the books, you know that Thomas, who was one of the main characters from the very beginning, pardon me, he is all grown up and he was in medical school and he met a young man named Jimmy Reeves, and Jimmy and he hit it off and they became fast friends. Well, Jimmy said, I'm not going to do medical. I'm going to go pharmaceutical. And there's actually in South Carolina, there was a university, a pharmaceutical university at that time. So it was kind of fun to do the history of the
Oh,
story
interesting. I
and
never
to
thought
learn that.
about pharmaceutical being back in that time period.
Yes, exactly. I had not either. And so that was super fun. When he decided that medical was not for him, he'd done enough gangrene that he didn't care to do anymore. I had to find an alternative for him. And boy, that was fun doing that research and finding out that he could go to medical school. So he decides that he understands, he's very technical minded. And so he understands that medicine is more than formulas and chemistry. And he wants to learn from the Arapaho woman who her name was Singing Bird, and she has now changed her name to Robin Manning. And he wants to learn from her. Thomas has told him stories of this woman, and he feels like this may be the way God is leading him. And so he comes totally unprepared to Shumard Oak Bend. And I will have to say, their first interaction actually made me, as the author, laugh as I was telling.
How fun. So I could see right now that he's a city boy, right?
Yes,
And she is very capable frontier woman.
yes.
And it's a little bit opposite of what you would normally see in a book of this type.
Right.
So that will be interesting to see that.
Right. There is no damsel in distress unless it is him. And he is fabulous. So I have a little cute thing about him. So when I wrote Jimmy into book 5, which is Healing of the Heart, that's Thomas's story while he is in Philadelphia at medical school. I sent that book to Julian Claire Kohler, she is my proofreader. She's the last editor to see my books. And she wrote me back, "Oh, Heidi, I love Jimmy. I did not realize you had written in a neurodivergent person." She is also neurodivergent. And she recognized it immediately. Well, I had not. Now, he's just a side character in that Healing of the Heart. And so it fascinated me that she pulled that out. So when I wrote book 6 and I really, really figured out who Jimmy was, I was able to make him a very competent, amazing individual where there are truly some neurodivergent characteristics that a reader will pick out, and they absolutely endear the reader to him.
Well, you're going to have to explain neurodivergent.
Neurodivergent, and for those of you who know the exact term, I apologize. This is my very layman's term, is an individual who struggles with something such as Asperger's,
I got
autism,
you. On the
those
spectrum.
kinds on the spectrum. Yes.
Interesting. I love that. I love that. I had years ago, on a side note, when I was teaching middle school, I had a young boy come in who was Asperger's syndrome. And his mom was a legal advocate, so she didn't put up with a whole lot. But
Yes.
this boy, Joey, his name was, Joey was so interesting. He was such a sweet, big boy, big kid, probably much bigger than I am, why was then even. And he's such a sweet boy. He could ace every spelling test I ever gave him, but he
Hmm.
could not write a sentence on his own. He
Yes.
could repeat anything like a photographic memory, but he could not write for
Yeah.
himself.
This dysgraphia.
Very
Yeah.
interesting. And it was the first time I had ever had a student with Asperger's syndrome. And,
Yeah.
and I had his sister as well a couple of years before. She was one of my favorite students I ever had. So just interesting to work with somebody with that on the spectrum and see that
Yeah.
they have these incredible
Oh,
giftings far beyond what most people have, even though they struggle with other things.
exactly.
Yeah.
And as an author writing that type of a person, Jimmy, his character is he pays close attention to the details. And as an author, that's fun because I am not then just telling the story. It is the reader is seeing it through Jimmy's eyes, what he is experiencing.
Wow.
And when he does a cattle branding, he doesn't understand the process until he starts to see the pattern. And when the pattern happens, the man can do it and he does it well because now he's figured out the pattern. Before it was just chaos and loud noises and bellowing cattle. And so super, super fun to see
Wow.
how each character has their own personality and they see life differently and they see God differently. Um, Cecelia comes from a background of absolute understanding who God is. God made everything, and she sees God in the details of the animals and the world and the stars, and she she relies on him and she can trust in him because she's grown up with that. Jimmy comes from a very stuffy Philadelphia high society elite family who had their name on a pew and they showed up for show. He never understood the importance of that personal relationship with Jesus Christ. And he's never experienced God outside of the four walls
Wow.
of a stone building. And so for him to see God for real in the wild, that's a brand new experience for him. And boy, that was a fun walk to take.
Was it challenging for you to write from that perspective, given, I mean, I'm struggling right now. The book I'm writing right now, I did some delving into personality because I love personality profiling before I start. And I delved into it and I had my personality all figured out and I knew what it was. And then I'm like, oh my gosh, that's my daughter. I'm pretty sure that's
Oh,
my daughter. And I
yeah.
texted my daughter and I said, hey, but Nicole, are you a type 4 wing 5? And she's like, I don't know what that even is. I said, let me send you something. So I had copied and pasted all my notes and sent it to her. And she's like, oh my gosh, Mom, that's me. And I said, I know. Now I need you to help me write the book because I don't get you at all because they see the world. Her
Yes.
that specific personality type that she is very there's very limited number of people, percentage of people that have that specific personality. So to think of that, I'm a type 1. I'm a perfectionist and I'm like all a rule keeper and everything's black and white and she is like sees things in symbols and colors and
Yes.
emotion. And if something can make her cry, it makes her happy because she loves to cry at the sad stuff where I'm just like, are you kidding me? So it's like you have to delve into that personality to really be able to pull it off.
You are correct. And if you don't know your characters well, they change personalities, and you've got to be really careful with that. So, going back, almost every chapter, I usually do a female chapter, male chapter,
Mhm.
female, male. And between those chapters, I have to be really careful. Sometimes I have to reorient myself. Is this how Jimmy would have responded? Nope. That is absolutely a feeling. That is not what he would have done. He would have looked at this from a science basis. That was not a reaction. I'll have to rewrite. There were actually a lot of rewrites for that one.
Mm,
Interestingly, for Cecelia, I knew her character and I felt like I knew her, but I couldn't figure out who she reminded me of. And at the very end, I finished the book and I was getting ready to send it to Claire. It had already been through my developmental editor. It had been through my line editor. It had been through my beta reader, and now here I am getting ready to send it to my line editor. And my proofreader, and I wanted to send the dedication page just because I don't want a typo on that.
right.
And so I labored. It took me a couple of days, and finally I typed into Chat GPT. This is when I believe AI can be helpful. I said, these these are the characteristics of this person. I can't figure out who I need to dedicate it to. Give me what is this person really like? And so they took everything that they knew about
Crazy.
Cecelia and they listed it, and instantaneously, and I can say this now because this book is published, my friend Michelle Trexler, it was her.
Hmm.
It was her all along. She has dealt with some amazing difficulties that I could never have survived, I don't feel. Yet she has just overcome them by sheer willpower and faith in God. She will overcome. She is a conqueror. And she will give every minute of glory to God. And so when I realized that is who that character was so much like, I like melted into my seat. That is
Oh,
exactly what this is. And I cannot wait for her to read my dedication. That I don't know if as readers, if you guys do read the dedications, but often you can find some pretty interesting things in that one page. And if you read my copyright page, every once in a while I'll slip something into my copyright page too.
interesting. Yeah, my dedications are usually pretty short and sweet. I think the only one I've dedicated to my mom because she was my champion as an
Yeah.
author, and my book, Providence, which is the
Yes.
suicide, I
Yes.
dedicated to my brother who committed suicide.
Yes.
So and dedication always to Jesus Christ first and foremost, and most often to my husband or, my daughter who inspired one of my books, or, the inspiration for the books a lot of times. But I'm not always good about doing a dedication. So that's a good reminder.
Yeah.
So we have this book out now. What's next? You're working on book 7, right?
I am working on book 7, and it is going to be the last book in this Discerning God's Best series. And I know I'm going to get some hate mail from some of my super fans. Pardon me. Um, this has been a fun series to write, but I'm getting ready to move into the 1900s. And it is a time period that I do not know well. It would take a tremendous amount of effort for me to do some research. And so I will most likely go back to the beginning, to the 1850s, where this Discerning God's Best started, and do a parallel series that kind of links up with Discerning God's Best. I've got so many characters that are just amazing that probably could have a spin-off of their own. And so I will work on that. But that last book is going to be Rachel and Clint's daughter, Sarah, who is Cecilia's little sister. Sarah is going to be my book. Sarah is blind from something, and she's struggling, but God is faithful. And so if the readers know, I am legally blind, so I'm losing my sight to retinitis pigmentosa. And so I've put my heart and soul into this character to try and help people understand what I see and feel and hear and smell, that help me recognize the world around me, that help orient me to things. And so it's an interesting story.
Wow. I'm sure I can't imagine writing. I mean, you can because you're living it, but for somebody who doesn't experience that, and as writers, we also often use our eyes to
Yes.
guide what we see and explain, and that sense more than any other. I mean, some smells, yes, some sounds, yes, but the eyes. So
Yes.
it'll be interesting that I would imagine even as a person losing your sight, that's going to be a challenge.
But even your book of suicide, see, I couldn't write that story because I don't have the understanding. I don't have the depth of knowledge. It doesn't matter how much research I do. I cannot feel your feelings. And so finding something that you have in your own life that you can put on page, that doesn't make it boring, but makes it a part of the story and a natural progression of someone, I think it only helps to make the book stronger and amplify the character.
Yeah. Well, I think you've delved into some interesting books. I mean, when you first started writing books, you were writing, was it something for perfect dial? That,
Dial P for perfect was my curvy girl story. And then I
yes.
had Dial E for endearment, which was a blind girl story.
So you've done that. You've delved
Yeah.
into, and most people aren't going to write a curvy girl story.
Yes.
Even
Yeah.
though what is the percentage of women that are curvy girls?
Oh, hi.
Very
And
high.
getting higher.
And
Yes.
depending on where you live, here in Tennessee, we got a lot of curvy girls here.
Yes.
They love that Southern food, the Southern
Yeah.
fried food. But I feel like you tend to go into areas of challenge when you're writing
Mm.
where a lot of authors would probably not.
Yeah. And I think I need that challenge, which is part of the reason why I am going to end the series and start something new, because I do need a challenge. And I'm just ADHD enough that I can't keep track of everybody's name, color of
Oh my
eyes, what
gosh.
family they belong to. Oh my goodness, we have a lot of characters in this series. And the fun part about this book, I haven't quite gotten there yet, but I am doing little cameos of all of the favorite
Oh.
characters coming back into this last story. So many of them, just readers have fallen in love with them and they just need a little bit.
Well, I was thinking, I lose track of all my characters and remembering what their eye color was, what their
Mhm.
names are. I'm like, okay, what was
Yes.
the
How
name?
did I spell that? F or PH?
I know. Then you have to, how many times, even now, even though these characters are new, I have one or two in my present book that I'm working on, where I had to go back to the old manuscript and throw through there to see, now, how did I describe that person? And I want to make sure that I'm using, and it's a side character. It's a very small character, but you still want to get it right.
Right.
So
Right.
yeah, I can imagine. You almost need to have, my husband tells me all the time, I need to have a big old bulletin board with all these pictures and maps and everything with all
Yes.
the characters so I can
Yes.
easily find
Actually,
them.
my friend is doing her book with Pinterest, and she's putting all that on Pinterest. And I thought that's fabulous because now readers can go to her Pinterest and see what she visualizes her character as. Um,
I started to do that, but it's like I didn't feel like I had enough to stick on Pinterest. And then I got sidetracked and I'm like, I have
yeah.
way more important things I need to work on aside from, I love
Yeah.
Pinterest. It's funny. Speaking of Pinterest, I got to say this. There's my husband was working with someone at our church and he's kind of a big guy and he does a lot of the cooking. Like they always do deacons do a meal
Yeah.
for the widows and widowers,
Yeah.
once a quarter or whatever, and they take meals to them. And Jeff always does the cooking, and Chris is like, you always come up with all these great. I mean, we're super healthy eaters. We don't eat Southern foods. We eat a lot of fish. We don't. But they make these foods, and he's like, this is so good. Where did you get that? Oh, I get it on my Pinterest. And he pulls up Pinterest, and he's this big guy. You just don't expect him to have Pinterest, but he's getting his recipes. He has his own Pinterest account. This is like, I don't
Awesome.
even know how to get on Pinterest. I said, you don't
Yes.
even know how to get on Facebook, actually.
Yes.
But
Yes.
to have for a man to have a Pinterest with all these recipes, it was just kind of a crack up. So Pinterest is a good place to go when you need to have a little bit of some inspiration for things, for sure. So that's pretty cool. Yeah.
Yes.
So do you have a title for this book seven?
Book seven is Vision of My Heart. So almost all of my books
Mhm.
are something of my heart. And except for one, A Place to Belong. And there's a story behind it. It was an accident. I wasn't going to use it as a companion novel. So I have Desire of My Heart and With All My Heart, Matters of the Heart. Then there is a companion novel called A Place Stitched on My Heart. Then there, Healing of the Heart, Keeper of My, no, Written on My Heart, and then A Place to Belong, Keeper of My Heart, and then that last one will be Vision of My Heart.
See,
And all of
I
those are
can't
meant to
get
serve a God.
titles. I mean, you've got title. I struggle with titles.
Yeah, I struggled too. God gave me most of those. And that last one, I chose six, and I asked a group of friends, and the consensus was Vision of My Heart.
Well, you at least have of my heart at the end of most of those, so it gives you part of it. But trying to come
Yeah.
up with a title, I think my last one, I was struggling and struggling and struggling. And, the first book in the series was Trained Wrecked Hearts, and you want to keep it trained. And I'm like, it's in Chattanooga. I don't know. And my husband actually helped me come up with the title for that. And he was
Yeah.
Googling things. He's a great help. He gives me all kinds of great
Oh,
ideas.
that's fabulous.
I
Yeah.
know it's kind of nice. So, but I'm gonna have to get him on this one. But for me, sometimes I have to have the story somewhat written before I can figure out what I want to title,
Yes. Yes.
pull something from it.
That is usually my need, but I feel like I don't have that option. I think one of the most difficult things is writing that blurb first.
I never do it first.
Yes, I
Because how do
write.
you know it's not gonna? I mean, are you a plotter then?
I'm a plantser,
Okay, I am
so
too.
I do have a very strong Save the Cat outline of what my book is going to do. But even with this book, excuse me, this last book in the series, I'm in the middle of writing it, and I am so far off track. But I got to rein it in. So
See, that's where I fall. Even like shadow dancing, when I wrote that one, the title came from thought in Mitch's mind at the very end of the book.
yeah.
It's like I can't remember exactly. It's like dealing with grief is like dancing with shadows, and that's where it came from. But it was at the
Oh, that's so perfect. Yeah,
very
you wouldn't have had
end.
it.
But it was at
Yeah.
the end, so I have to wait, and that's why I have my whip, you know,
Yes.
this number three or whatever, and it takes me forever. I have
Right.
at times had the whole book done and struggled for weeks to get the title. It's
Well,
sad.
part of the reason I need that first is because when you're writing in a series, you always want to have that next book ready for pre-order when the book release. So when this book here, Keeper of My Heart, releases, Vision of My Heart will be up for pre-order. So when you finish Keeper of My Heart, you can go ahead right then and secure your copy.
So you're gonna have Vision of My Heart done and up for pre-order?
I will have it up for pre-order. I will have the blurb complete. The book will still be in the editing phase. You don't have to have, when you put it up for pre-order, you don't have to have
Right.
but the first 3 chapters uploaded to Amazon. That's because Amazon has changed the way they do things. And now you can do the look inside of a pre-order, which you didn't used to be able to do that.
Well, I would be afraid I wouldn't be able to get that book done in time. It would just really stress me out.
Yeah, it puts me under some pressure.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think so because mine's going up next month and I just started the other book. So,
Yeah.
that's part of it. I don't think people who are not writers are aware of all
Oh,
the
the,
background of writing a book, of getting
yes.
things done and getting, like for me, it's the podcast. I haven't been able to write the last couple of weeks. We were gone for a week and then I have a podcast I had to edit. And then you have this that has to get done.
Yep.
And it's not as easy as I say in my podcast, it's not as easy as you think to
Yes.
actually write books.
And you're waiting on other people. Some authors, they write their book and it only requires one pass. My writing is not that strong. I require multiple people to look at my book and find things, and then an advanced reader team
Wow, I
that
need to
goes in there and
that.
they find other details that still were missed because everybody views it differently. They
Right.
see things differently. But I am always amazed at the number of authors who release their audiobook at the same time. Misty M. Beller is one of those. She releases her audiobook at the exact same time that she releases everything else. And you and I talked before this podcast started about how difficult it is just to get that up on Amazon. It is your hands are tied. You can
Right.
get it to them, but it is their timing of when they are going to get to it and when it's going to be loaded. And so you have to have that ready a long time before the book is ready.
Well, and
Ready
an
to
audiobook takes 6 to 8 weeks to produce.
easily.
Yeah.
And I don't use a separate proofreader for my audiobooks. I do that function myself because I want to, it's not just did the word get, was the word stated correctly? It's the tone of voice that can make or break something. And so I always want to make sure that my audiobooks are exactly the way I want them. I love my narrator, Amy Lilly. She is beyond amazing. She is so understands my characters and she can do all the voices. So she's
Right.
really fun to listen to. And I do have those audiobooks. Those are wide, so you can get that on Spotify and Google Play, Kobo Plus, all the places, Chirp. It is in a lot of library systems. And then it's also on Amazon. But it is also on YouTube, and I am reaching a different audience on my YouTube channel than I am anywhere else. In fact, the broadness of the countries that I am reaching through YouTube just astounds me.
So how does it work on YouTube? Because it's not a video, right?
It is considered a video, and so I put up a thumbnail and I choose to change pictures with each chapter usually. And so it doesn't have to be a video moving picture, but it is considered
Hmm.
it's not a short, it's a video. And so, for example, my very first book, Desire of My Heart, is over 11 hours long. So, because even though those books are free on YouTube, those pesky little ads that you have to skip, those are what pay me pennies on the hour. But those are what pay me my fee of the privilege of putting my book up on there. If
Hmm.
you listen to those ads, then it's like Kindle Unlimited. Read all the way to the end for Kindle Unlimited because authors get paid per
Yeah,
page.
per page.
So don't just stop. Go if there's 10 more pages, read 10 more pages. Give that author another penny.
Or just flip them.
Right.
Just flip the pages.
Exactly. It's
Oh,
it's like leaving a tip for your server.
right. It's nice. Well, it has been such a pleasure, Heidi, to talk to you again. I'm sure when your next book comes out, we'll see you back here again.
I hope so because I always enjoy spending time with you. And look me up if you're at Blue Ridge.
I will absolutely do that. Thank you so much. Good to see you again.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.